So my friend MJ has just arrived. MJ, what's going on?
Hello.
Welcome to my humble abode.
Yeah, it's a good house. I like it. I like your shot.
Thank you. Well, it is a good house, but I was concerned that when you came here, because of this this amazing machine, whether you'd be able to get up over there.
Shall we give it a go?
I think we should give
What
it
do
a
you
go.
think?
I just, yeah, but
See
I'm
if we can get in.
concerned what might happen. But I mean,
Don't worry.
I
I
just,
think you should not worry.
I think you're
That's
right.
a good thing.
I think you're right again. God,
You
you're
ready?
good. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, let's do that. See you soon. You want to go?
Oh, wow.
Wiggle. Where's a little wiggle?
Wow.
But that's all right, isn't it?
So I'm so excited that this lady is here. She doesn't know that we're going to do something. Well, she probably does know, but she doesn't know what we're going to do. First, we're going to drink lots of coffee with. Look. I've got you. That's for you. That's my first little present for you. There, but don't eat it all at once. All right. Don't eat all of that at once.
It's a magic mushroom. It's not magic.
It's not magic. It's yeah.
It's a reishi mushroom.
It's a reishi mushroom.
Of everlasting life, which is why I don't look 387.
But come this
You
way.
wouldn't believe I was, would you?
I know how old you are.
21.
Right. So come into here. So,
I see. It's a lot better when we get in here, isn't it?
yes.
There you are.
But here's my next. Where is it? This is my next present for you. So I mean, basically, it's going to be presents every few minutes.
This boy knew what he was on about.
Socrates, he knew what he was on about. He knows what he's an unexamined life ain't worth living.
He knew what he was talking about. Thank you. Oh, your flowers from last night are beautiful. I thought that when you collected.
It was an amazing event last
It was
night.
incredible, and you spoke from the heart. You spoke about love, and I love you.
Good. Well, we're going to have some love going on.
That's what I like to hear. Just seeing your love drops. He knows, you know.
He knows. I do knows. Then the awesome Mandie Jane Lace. Hello, MJ. When we met on Clubhouse, you'd been pronounced dead a few times, right?
Yeah, so I got double pneumonia and double pleurisy.
You couldn't get one. You had to do double.
Yeah, obviously.
Don't do
double
anything
kidneys.
by halves.
Double kidneys.
Double kidneys.
there you go,
Yeah. So
double.
go on.
And then I was intubated.
Incubated.
Intubated.
What's that mean?
A tube down your throat while you're asleep in.
What? Because of COVID?
Well, they don't know.
So
at
they did
point.
that, but you were pronounced dead.
Yeah, 12 before I went in. Yeah, so I was resuscitated at home. My son and my carer found me in bed, not breathing. So the NHS put me through resuscitation with them. Then they took me in the ambulance. Then it happened again in coronary.
Do you remember any of this?
Yeah, was that I knew everything and everybody was fine.
Yeah.
That was it.
Really? You that's what you knew.
There was a peace, that one that you read in the Bible, the peace that surpasses all understanding.
Yeah.
That one that you just know.
But let's just tell us a bit about what you've created. What have you over the last couple of years?
An organisation that helps people that are disabled, that have some. It's a big word, intersectionality.
And what impact are you having?
Phenomenal impact. Yeah, we're making a difference for a lot of people. And the nice thing I think about what we do is it crosses, as I said, intersectionality boundaries. So age, income, experience, it's not just as the lady that sat next to me last night alluded to. She was like, oh, were people just born disabled? I'm like, no, people throw themselves off mountains.
Yeah.
Like you can, at the end of the day.
You wake up one day. Well, you say everyone's going to end up disabled.
Well, we're disabled or we're not yet disabled. It's really unusual, isn't it, to die in your sleep when you're well?
Oh, that just doesn't happen. How many people do you know that have died in their sleep? I told my granddad did, but I don't know anybody else.
Yeah, how many people my granddad?
Everyone I know dies in horrible circumstances. Well, I say horrible. I say in hospitals, and not that they're horrible, but
Poorly.
yeah.
So we've got a crisis in that.
A crisis of what?
Well, I think of telling the truth.
Yeah.
Of where we're heading. And
Which is what? Where are we heading?
We're all heading disabled, aren't we? We're all heading.
What, heart disease, like a stroke? You'd be disabled.
Yeah.
Dementia, Alzheimer's.
Yeah, and we know why.
Cancer.
Yeah, we know why. Why the explosion? You tell me. You know why.
What I've seen, which is just so incredible about you, MJ, is that you have decided to make yourself a priority and make sure you're okay. Like, I'm okay, I think for years you were serving others without really making sure that you were okay. And I think
trauma response.
Yeah, is that a trauma response?
Massively. Helping the helpers to help themselves is an absolute necessity. And I've said it in social work, I've said it in education. teachers drink too much, social workers do all sorts too much. You know, we do all that because it's a trauma response to the situation we're in, and the amount of pressure they're under, they turn to those ways because they think it's a quick fix, and actually there's only one fix, and that's an inside job, isn't it?
Here I am in one of my favourite places, and hello. What's really interesting is that we're just going off to meet my friend Dale, who's the managing director of Suzuki UK and Ireland. I wonder if any of those are Suzukis. So this is me with one of my favourite human beings.
Hi.
One of my favourite human beings. How long have we known each other, Dale?
We've known each other for about 20 months. Not that long. 20 months. How close are we?
That's what I was just thinking. I was thinking, are we dating? Because we know the day. I remember the day I met you. I mean, we spoke. How did we meet?
I was running an event where we were launching a car, doing an immersion event, and I was looking for somebody to do a slot around personal development. I was looking for someone to do a same 15-minute slot, maybe 4 times a day,
Yeah.
and I asked you to do it.
Yeah, and I remember when we arrived at the hotel where the next day I was speaking and you wanted to see me and I was in bed. I'd gone to bed at like 7:30, but I was so glad that I came down because I've not actually met too many people like you in my life, not just in industry, but just also just as a human being, and we've become extremely great friends, and we've also been through something so difficult and challenging, but you're one of those people that was just there for me throughout. So you lost your wife how long ago?
August last year.
August last year, and I lost Hannah in May last year, and both lost our wives to cancer. But how's life for you now?
Life's good. Life's good. I think we were talking about bereavement earlier on, and it's a unique process. And I've worked through that process, and I'm in a rebirth.
Your rebirth.
Yeah.
It's funny when you just said that before, because I was thinking I'm not there yet, but I know I will be. I'm like in a season of my life. But I actually really related to what you say about there's a rebirth of you, because you what's happened to you has changed you, that you could never be who you were. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. There are bits of me that are gone, and there are new facets to me that I'm exploring, and exploring that newness about what I can be in the future is interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's so fascinating to just have this conversation, because it's just what I needed, to be honest. I don't believe that you're here by chance. You're kind of come down to Brighton.
Well, you reached out to me and said that you thought the universe was calling for us to meet again.
Definitely. I'm really looking forward to, because you're also coming to another interesting point in your career, right? What's happening for you?
Well, I've been heading up Suzuki 17 years, and I'm just about to retire at the end of March. I'm going to transition to do some new work, some speaking work, hopefully, helping people recover from adversity, bereavement. I've got Parkinson's, coping with a life of physical decline.
Yeah.
And working through how you can remain positive and be useful during that period.
Wow.
And about reframing, and about leadership, and about leading through love, Pete.
This man, I've had the opportunity to work with him and his team and see the love that you have for what you do. How important is it to be a leader who leads with love?
Vital.
What does that mean?
I think 360-degree leadership. I talk about being authentic, being vulnerable, and I think a lot of people who are in leadership positions think that you have to be strong and macho and controlling. And actually, vulnerability has immense cut through, and not having the answers, and empowering others to do it, and managing a business, managing people, and aligning people through disappointment and hope rather than fear is an interesting area to get into.
And what have you achieved at Suzuki?
I've achieved some good stuff. We've been the most trusted car brand in the UK for the last 11 measures independently, and we do that by leading with love.
So you are one of the most trusted car brands in the UK, right? So how did you do that? because trust is a funny thing. When I first heard that, I just thought that's a nice little strap line. But when I looked under the bonnet, forgive
No, I don't
the
pick
pun,
under the bonnet, yeah.
I could really see, no, this is exactly what you've done. How have you become a company that people trust?
I think by empowering those on the front line to serve. By empowering people to serve, not to process, but to serve. And living a life of service. If you're in a customer service role, you need to live a life of service.
And something else which I really, really love about what you've done is you've just simplified everything. You created what's known as a plan on a page that every single person knows. We know who we are, we know what we're doing, we know what we say, we know how to say it.
Yeah, I think having simplicity having cut through and having some stories that can be repeated, that become culture, the DNA of the business, become a checkpoint, a template that people can use going forward is powerful.
So look, just lastly, I recorded a podcast with you.
You did?
And just something happened as a result of that podcast. Could you just let us know what
Yeah,
happened?
I talked about being in the next season of my life, and I got to a period where I realised I wanted to start dating, exploring some new relationships. And I met a lady. I wanted to share with her my story around bereavement and Parkinson's, because I didn't want to be awkward when we met. And I sent her the podcast, and she fell in love with the person in the podcast. And when we met, life was good. So it's down to you, Pete.
Let's just put a big smile on my face. Now, do you mind if I go into the boys' room?
Please do, Pete, as long as you don't point that thing downwards.
So we're at the Hilton Hotel in Brighton, and my friend MJ here, just seeing what she's had to go through in the last hour or so with the challenges that she faces, it's almost criminal. What do you think? You tell me.
So what I've observed is we've been waiting for MJ for about an hour, and she arrived in her specially adapted van, and she messaged us to say that she was going to be arriving any minute. It's taken her about 40 minutes to get from the car park up to the hotel because her van malfunctioned and her chair wasn't on the ramp properly. The signal wouldn't work on her phone, so she couldn't contact us to help her. She's finally arrived. She's managed to hoist herself into her chair. Eventually, she's got into the hotel. She made a booking this afternoon. They checked her card details via card check. However, when she arrived at reception after a long queue, they couldn't find her booking.
And now she's got to fill in a form.
No, and now she's had to give the receptionist her phone for the woman to check her ID before they can give her a room. But this must have taken, 15 minutes now?
Yeah, and it's always amazing to see how other people move through the world. And I think patience is a virtue. It most definitely is, and MJ has to be so patient. Going home now.
Good.
What are you drinking? Is that the world's healthiest coffee?
It is, and I know it's late.
Once again, the patience that you demonstrate is astounding.
It's taught, right? It's a lot of years. It's a lot of years of
Yeah,
sitting.
but also who you are is someone who's like, it doesn't matter, I'm coming, don't matter what you do to me.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Can I have a look in this cupboard?
Yeah, you can look in my cupboard if you want.
You're fine. I'm going to make sure there was no axe-wielding homicidal maniacs.
Yeah, there won't be.
It's what a compliment. It's been great to see you today.
It's good to see you as well. Thank you for your time.
Sorry, I'm such a lightweight. It's my time. It's a joy. It's not knowing you and working with you and all that sort of stuff. It's awesome. It's strange because we're friends first and foremost.
Might have some milk together.
Yes.
It's like a miracle.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Soya milk.
Soya milk, yeah. Cheers.
Oi,
Here it is. Soya milk in a jug. Wow.
It's not.
It's a bit like sausage in a cup.
Yeah, I'm just tempted to drink this, but I'm not
proud?
going.
Are
How
you
much to
proud?
say when?
Yeah, just keep going. how exciting, thank you. How exciting that I get coffee and soy milk and it's in a jug and not in a glass. I suggested the jug. Just think, you know.
They listened to you, Wednesday. They listened.
I know.
Are you coming or are you going?
I'm just about to get into bed.
Yeah.
What, you? No problem. There's room for both of you. Right, goodbye everyone. Say goodbye.
Yeah, I know you're wondering, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, in a previous video diary, I talked a little bit about putting this mask on, which is amazing for breath. Really, really focusing on breath. Breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. Actually also restricting the amount of air that I actually take in. I've just done 50 minutes on this bike. Look at this beautiful view out there, doing one of the other things I love to do, which is to watch the birds. You'll probably see a couple of birds coming in any second. Now, look, this is what we call the daily detox. And look, a couple of things I want to share here. It's Tuesday today. I'm getting ready for, there's the robin. Look, you know what they say when robins appear, loved ones. Can you just see the robin down there? Look, there he is. Look. Oh, there he is. When robins appear, he loves going on top of that Buddha. I've got a really, really big event coming up. Fly out to Nice on Thursday, Friday and Saturday. I spoke to the organizer yesterday and he said, Pete, this whole thing is hanging on you, which I don't mind. I'd rather know the important role that I'm going to play in this. And I'm not saying this to boast, or I'm just saying that sometimes you've got to recognize the role that you're playing. And I'm like the kind of glue that's going to bind this whole thing together. We've got leaders coming from all over the world to this event and all different kind of backgrounds and stuff. And I'm delivering 3 sessions over the 2 days, kicking it off, ending it. So the role I play here is so important, and I have to be ready mentally, physically, and that's why I'm in here. You know, I am 54 years old, and I have to tell you, there are parts of me that feel fitter than I've ever been. And I just wonder, where are you with your fitness, with your energy, your vitality? Where are you with it? Don't judge it, don't blame it, don't shame it. I mean, you could actually start by just having a look at your stomach if you want, you know, and you can actually see, if you want, maybe you can't see your toes. I mean, where there's work to be done. And I think there's work to be done for everyone, regardless of where we are. There's something that we can do. And I know that, you know, sometimes the hardest thing to do is just get started. But, you know, my goal is to help as many people understand the power of intention. That's what I want to do. When you're intentional, you break through what is difficult, what is challenging. You know you want it to be difficult. I honestly have to tell you, I did not feel like getting on this bike today. I really didn't feel like it. That's almost how I want to feel, because now I feel so much better because I did. I just wonder, do you have any aspirations to improve your health and your well-being? Do you have any aspirations to think differently, to feel differently? Because honestly, if you do, then say you do. Say you do. Because that has to be the starting point of everything, right? To say, well, I want to do something. And then the challenging thing to do before you start is you've got to stop and really look at, audit where you are. You know, how do you feel about where you are? What's working, what's not working? And, you know, sometimes it's like lighting a match in a dark place. You go, wow, this place is in a bit of a mess. But regardless of the mess that it's in, there's still something that you can do to improve your life. For me, this is what I'm doing now, is training for what I'm doing on Friday and Saturday. But it's also training for later on today. It's training for next week, next month, next year. That's what being intentional is about. And that's why I'm doing this video diary, and I will continue to do it. But I just want to thank you for watching. It's time to get on with the day.
I really feel I can have open and honest conversations with myself when I'm in a place like this. And this is one of my beautiful places where I feel most at home. I definitely feel most at home when I'm around Mother Nature. And I also feel really at home when I'm up in front of people on a stage. And I'm going to give some real honesty around a few things that I just really want to share and get off my chest. And in making this video diary, it's really not about anyone who's watching this. If people do watch it and they get something out of it, then that's fantastic, but that's not the reason for doing it. The reason for doing it is just kind of making sense of my own reality. And something I've realized is that, have you ever heard the expression that when someone, you can either zig or zag in life? And there's a book about this, but it talks about the fact, well, for me, zigging is just doing what everyone else is doing, and zagging is going in the opposite direction, or zigging when everyone's zagging. There's just a rebel inside me that rebels against often what I'm told, rebels against what everyone else is doing. And maybe that's to my detriment, but at least I can live with myself, you know, because I've got a very strong sense of who I am and what I want to do. And part of what I want to say here is, look, if you're in the business of, you have something to say, maybe you've got a product or a service, or you just got something to say and you want to be heard, you know, well, how do you get heard? You know, you've got to have an audience, and, you know, and there's this whole thing around your presence, which years ago, these things never existed in my reality many years ago, but now they are, with obviously YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of these platforms that exist. Hi there, good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. So nice to see you all out walking. And that's part of my message. I don't think that just happened randomly. You know, I want people to be able to have a wonderful long life of health and well-being. So I have spent years trying to be heard, like many people. But once upon a time, I didn't have to try and be heard because I was lucky. I was on TV, I had books that were published all around the world, I've spoken all over the world. It was much easier to get people to listen. When live streaming started, I was one of the pioneers in that space on Periscope, which was owned by Twitter. Literally, I'd have hundreds of people. Same on Facebook, I'd go live on Facebook, a couple of hundred people. Now I go live on Facebook, Instagram, we'd be lucky to get 2 or 3 people. It's like, so what do? Do I dive deeper into trying to get people? Do I spend money on ads? And I understand how challenging it is for people to be heard, you know? And I've just realized, I had a conversation with a colleague the other day who's really good in marketing, and he was telling me what he thinks I should do. And there was a part of me that goes, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to do it my way. And if my way doesn't work, well, it doesn't work. But I do want to impact more people's lives. There's no question about that. But this is what I wanted to say, apart from getting that off my chest, because it's been on my mind. I like long form content like this. You know, I don't know how many people watch it from beginning to end, but we are living in a world that everyone's been rewired. If you've been on social media and you were a big part of what happened in 2010, between 2010 and 2015, there's been a huge rewiring of young people. We have more mental health problems than ever. You know, in 2010, when we talk about mental health problems, there wasn't the pandemics that we're talking about now of anxiety. We have a new word for anxiety called anxiogenic. We've got more depression, suicide, bipolar. And I think it's so important just to realize, how are we living? What's the impact of technology? We talk about the impact, let's say, alcohol and sugar. You know, years ago, people, sugar, alcohol, cigarettes, these things, people said they were good for you, you know? And now we look back and we've gone so far down the rabbit hole to pull back how we've taken in information, and what the impact of that information is having on us is a really big question. But let me explain it to you like this. If an aeroplane was going down the runway to go and take off, but they realized there was something wrong, they'd pull it back. I think that's what we need to do. We need to pull back on technology and how it's impacting our lives, because I think we overly protect people in the outside world, but we're under protecting people in terms of what they're consuming. And, you know, here's me putting out content that will be out on YouTube. But like I say, my reason for doing it is more to help myself and to ground myself in who I am and what I'm doing. If you resonate with this message, it's great, you know, fantastic. How can I help you? Because I want to help more people than I've ever helped. But I want to do it my way. And what's really interesting, and I haven't said this publicly, I was going to leave this country. I was going to go and live in maybe Greece or Portugal. I was in Greece, and I'm looking into it, but I've decided I'm not going to go and live. I'm going to stay put, no matter what people think of Great Britain at the moment. I think there's some very challenging times ahead. But I'm staying here because I'm launching something with a colleague of mine, which is a dream for me. And it's really in the podcasting space. I'm not going to say too much about it right now, but I was podcasting before podcasting was a thing. Literally, I was doing something called Blog Talk Radio, and this must have been in 2009, 2010, where you actually phoning up and speaking to someone, and it was being recorded, and it was Weight Loss Guru Radio. I'm sure you can find it somewhere if you really wanted to. But then I started podcasting in 2015. I've had a podcast for 9 years, which I've recently stopped, but I'm going to do one more episode because I'm launching a new podcast next year with my colleague, and that's how I want to get my message out. And we will get the message out. And what's the message? Well, it's part of my wife's legacy about just getting on with it. What's it? Be intentional. Be intentional about thinking. We have to wake up to how are we thinking and how is that affecting our reality. I say we, you don't have to, but I believe your life will transform when you transform your mind. So, wow, I've been talking for 7 minutes. Wow. Well, like I said, this is a long form bit of content, and I'm getting ready on Thursday to go to France. I'll take you guys with me, and I want to thank you for listening, because maybe once a week I'll really speak openly and honestly about who I am, where I am, what I'm doing. I just want to help you if you have any aspirations to transform yourself, transform your mind, transform your body, whatever you want to transform. Take care. So it's Wednesday today, and tomorrow I fly off to Nice to work for 3 days, which is going to be amazing. But I don't know whether you one of those people who believes in what some people might call the law of attraction, you know, attracting things into your world. Well, I met someone at the event on Saturday night, the gala dinner. He's a guy who grew up in a very similar place to me. He spoke to me afterwards and said how he was touched by what I said, which was great. But he told me he has a podcast, and it's all about Eastern philosophy, martial arts. It's something which I'm fascinated with. And he asked me to come round to his house today because he's recording an episode of his podcast. Would I like to come and listen? I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know, I just changed a few things around today because one of the things I'm looking to do is definitely make more connections with people that live locally to me. But also, I found out a little bit more about this guy yesterday, John Vincent. He started the company called Leon, which is a hotel chain. We also have a lot of mutual friends, and his podcast is amazing. I listened to an episode of that yesterday. Plus, he was on Stephen Bartlett's podcast. Really, really fascinating human being. And I really do believe this is part of Hannah's work. You know, I think, well, if it wasn't for Hannah, you know, if Hannah... Well, it's just such a crazy story even to think about, but the fact of the matter is I'm off to his house now. I'm going to be listening and watching this podcast today, and yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm taking you with me.
So what Julian and I now do, having put Wing Chun into practice in Leon, having sold it, we are now having the business of Wing Chun, which is a podcast and a book, and we have also the Kwun, which is preserving and sharing ancient and modern wisdom. Kwun represents the training hall in the Southern Shaolin Temple when all of these different masters used to come together. So we have our discipline ourselves of Wing Chun, and we invite other masters who are preserving and sharing oral traditions in ancient and modern wisdom, stuff that isn't on the internet. We're inviting them to come and provide online courses, physical events, workshops, to codify ancient wisdom. And Julian is, as you know, Julian, who I wrote the book with, and is lovely. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do 3. We're taking the pressure off because Carmel from Magic Breakfast it's got COVID, ironically, and Pete is a supporter of a hospice called St. Peter and St. James. Pete did a wonderful speech on Saturday, full of hope, positivity and possibility. And Pete's wife was in the hospice for a while. Pete is one of these people that really believes that you can find solutions to things. I think you and your wife brought her a number more years of life through some therapy that you found for her. She did eventually succumb to cancer, and I thought Pete was such a lovely guy. We spoke after after his speech, and it became clear that he holds dear a lot of the things that we do in Wing Chun, recognises the value of things like love, values the value of freedom and responsibility, and the fact that we have much more freedom to apply intention than we think. And he's actually got intention or intentions tattooed on his forearm. So yeah, that's everybody. Does anyone have any questions before we start?
That was really good.
Okay, great. Let's go. You're going to do.
I'm just going to film up here for a second.
I was just going to say about
What an array of people. That was just flipping awesome. And this is where they're going to be filming, you know? My dad said, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and who really does make the biggest difference.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to learn about this.
Oh, thanks, Alex. It's an absolute pleasure. So I'm going to take you through today something called Silmental.
Okay.
And that means the way of the little idea. And it's the first form in Wing Chun where they put an interesting way of combining movements and principles.
And I can see a lot of synergy with what I do, in that I imagine that the most important things are getting the fundamentals right.
You're totally true. And I really would love us to explore this more on the podcast, because I can totally see this too. So let's head up and do it. Thank you so much.
That was such a privilege.
No, me too. It's beautiful when we talk about.
What do you mean? What technique?
So you want just to do one single punch.
Right.
So there's a principle.
Simultaneous.
So there's a principle Wing Chun, which is no.
That was amazing. I really, really, really enjoyed hearing your story. And I was just going to ask you to show me.
Sure, so this is a painting that I did at the Duke of Edinburgh, which was at the podcast.
Amazing. Is that like one of the greatest pieces of work?
Yeah, I think so, just because it's very characterful and it was so much fun to do with him. That's a drawing from Afghanistan.
That's amazing. I loved what you said about with every drawing you do, you have to really go through this mental kind of torture and struggling. Why do you think that? Do you think that's something that all artists do?
I don't know. I mean, I wish I could tell you that it was easy, but usually it's a struggle. And those actually my best paintings usually come out of a struggle, and there'll be a moment in the middle of the picture where I'm thinking to myself, God, why didn't I take my father's advice and get a proper job? And then somehow through the process, I'll suddenly see something and I'll go, that looks quite good. Then gradually it will begin to come together, and then I get to a point where I'm almost a spectator to the act.
Well, I loved listening to your story, and I'm really inspired by you, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you, getting you on my podcast. And tell us what you're doing tomorrow.
Yes. Tomorrow, I'm off to Kenya, and I'm going to meet this amazing old soldier who's 114 years old, and he is the last living black veteran who fought for the empire against Nazi Germany.
Wow.
So I'm going to paint his portrait, and I pray that once it's done, it will be good enough to go into the National Portrait Gallery.
What a week it's been. I'm actually going to end this video diary here because I'm about to go off to Nice, and there's going to be a lot going on there that I want to share with you. I'm actually editing this week. This was obviously yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, love listening to you. Isn't that weird? You're just going to have just watched that. But this is everything that's happened this week, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome, and once again, I am going to continue of sharing this journey with you. And this week, what have we got coming up? Well, we've got literally coming up me going to Nice and working with a whole load of leaders, young leaders from around the world. We're there with them for 3 days. It's going to be amazing. I'll see you in Nice.